Oh, hi, Laura.
Hey, Katy.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 1 of Currentsy.
How to do impossible things. How to do impossible things. What does ominous really mean? Where to go when a prop woken up from the dream?
That's right. So we are so excited to be here to talk in circles about the flow of value through people, not just materials. That's why we're here. The last video I did was just me introducing this concept of participatory production. So today we get to have more of a conversation and introduce you, Laura, my co-host. So you want to start telling everyone a little bit about who you are and how we came to be here?
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much for having me, Katy. We're going to have the best time with this. I can't wait. I'm so excited to get started. You and I have connected a couple times in our career. We first met back when I was working at DNA Info in 2014, and you were with your sisters at Amelia Street. Worked on a few different projects there, and then we reconnected when you had just launched your Trashy markets. And so I know you had your December Trashy market was the first one in 22, and then in 23 you reached out through LinkedIn since we were connected, and that's when you were just getting out the word as you've done. Grassroots just reached out to anyone in all of your networks and said, hey, come check this out. And coincidentally, I was at the very beginning of exploring a much more creative side of my career and a more purposeful side of my career. And so we connected at the market. I instantly felt that uplift of hope and inspiration from talking to the remakers and everyone that you had coordinated at the plant in Chicago, and we hit it off from there. I started helping plan a few Trashy markets, myself being a vendor, just like you were. You've launched different art installations from nowhere, and the brand has gone in many different directions. Great directions. And now we're hearing that it's really great to have a bigger conversation, invite more people into it. We've already have a really great community, but we're ready to expand it. So I'm very excited to be here and hear from lots more people.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, thank you for sort of introducing our relationship.
Yeah.
And a little bit about Nowhere Collective too, just what we're doing. And we have these conversations on a regular basis. Weekly, we're checking in and we're constantly talking about our own personal creative challenges and joys of trying to find repurposed materials for our personal projects, and then we jump into business stuff and also fun and exciting creative things. Both of us coincidentally also jumping into home renovation, home reinvigoration projects. And so we've been commiserating and enjoying the process of trying to do it as responsibly as possible. So we've found another reason to connect in a very deep way on why we care about this so much and how we're trying to do it differently.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I've had to kind of come around to the idea of launching a YouTube channel. It's been a bit of a personal struggle to convince myself that it's needed. We need more channels and podcasts and content. And it seemed like through our home renovations, that was the point in time where I was like, you know what? No one's talking about this stuff. I'm Googling it.
Yeah.
I'm on Pinterest. Where is everybody? Why is nobody exploring this alternative way of building and constructing?
Yeah.
So yeah, we were kind of like, oh, we're talking about these. We can't find the resources. Why don't we just start recording and see what happens? And then we can bring in other people who are also applying their creative talents in other ways. And so, yeah, so we're here.
We're here. Yes, I was trying to think of the right term for it. And I'm like, is it responsible renovation? Is it regenerative renovation? Like, to use an example from like our home renovation, we took up floors in our home. We had two layers. We had original wood floors, then we had these like tiles, and then we had like this carpet that like the grossest carpet I've ever seen. I don't know what color it originally was,
Yeah.
but with things like this and with creative reuse, you have to continue to keep being creative, because what we found out is there was pine on the original level, but then there was 2 inches of tile and then
Oh,
carpet. So now we have a little bit of a gap, and I wonder if I can show it very fast.
yeah.
That we had a draft.
Oh.
So we're filling it in with foam, and then we found maybe don't use that. My you can though. And then we found just like a thicker wood that we're now going to use to pull it all together, and to see and know that these floors have been in this home for 125 years and they're like unearthed. You truly do feel like it's a honey color. It's just like beautiful. And it's something that would not be the same, wouldn't feel the same had it
Yeah.
been this brand new.
Oh, I love regenerative renovation. Uh, oh, that's interesting. Okay. Yeah, I mean, you and I both are very keen to come up with alliterative ways to talk
I
about
know. I like need to stop, but I just love it. It just brings a
it.
smile to
So
my
good.
face. And I think that
I
that's
know.
definitely what we want to do too. So yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And sort of that creative process can sometimes feel so daunting
Mm-hmm.
when you're in the middle of it and you're just like, is this worth it? Can this even work? How do we make it work? And then not just like dig ourselves into a new hole.
Mm-hmm.
And so you and I are both in the middle of, I don't know, this could be a complete disaster. It could look like total trash at the end of the day, but
Yeah.
also I really enjoy the process of trying to find alternative sources. I mean, Facebook Marketplace has sort of been my go-to spot now, um, to find pieces of furniture that we could convert into other things in the house. And
Mm-hmm.
while I wish there was another way to do it that's not Facebook, it has been really nice to connect with people
Mm-hmm.
and like people who want to find a good home for something. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I can make a new home for this, and enjoying that connection. And so that's where Currentsy, I think, also has emerged for us. Is right now it feels like there's a gap in the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of gaps, a gap in the conversation of like, we've been focused so much on material and the value of materials and making sure that those things get put to good use so that it's not wasted, and then we're conserving resources that would otherwise be used. They'd be mined and processed and then converted into virgin material to then make something new. And I think circular economy and closed loop has been really emphasizing the materials, and we've left people out of this conversation. They are the ones that have the value, like the people who can turn this thing into something else. Those are the people who have the value. And we've been disconnected from the supply chain in that way. And so I'm really excited to like meet the makers, have
Mm-hmm.
everyone else meet the makers. You and I have become friends with
Yeah.
many of the makers,
Mm-hmm.
and they have such an interesting perspective on commerce,
Mm-hmm.
capitalism, production, creativity. Like the way they think about things is so fascinating, and I've just been dying to give a voice to them because like they are the solution, to be completely honest. Creative people are going to solve these problems that we have. So who are you hoping to talk to in these conversations? Obviously you and I will continue to have them one on one, and then who are
Mm-hmm.
you hoping, like what other voices are you hoping will be a part of this?
Yeah, I think we've done a really nice job of building a great community that comes out to the markets and meets the makers and sees what they've created. And it's been currently like at that market, there's such magic. Everyone leaves, everyone's really invigorated and feels hopeful and inspired. But then it's kind of like until the next market. We also want to hear feedback from other people of like, what's their biggest problem? What's the
Yeah.
thing that they have in their house? Or it's also so fun to hear the stories of, well, I have like this whole room of things, like my basement, like, but I don't
Yes.
know what to do with it and I don't want it to get thrown away. I think of Miranda. So at the very beginning when we met, you had met Miranda, who had records from her mother-in-law that had been in a garage that hadn't been listened to in a while, had been slightly warped, so they weren't necessarily ready to be listened to. And I was making planters out of records. And so you made that connection. She was so excited to pass them on because she knew if you donate them to a thrift store or Goodwill, you don't necessarily know that those are going to an actual home or are they going to get thrown away. And so it's really exciting too to be able to connect with people who have the items. And I think the first time that we did it at a Trashy market was at Gallagher Way in 2024. And we had individuals bring items for the makers. And to see someone walk up to my booth, and I was collecting jars at the time to make candles, and they just are so excited to be like, here's my jar, I saw you needed it. And it's so fun to see so much like energy around the creation process, but also like keeping things out of the landfill, keeping things even out of the recycling stream, because we know that recycling certainly isn't necessarily just the solution for it, right? So I think the participatory production is it's the feel good side of being a consumer. It's knowing that you're doing better. There's so many things that are so far out of our control, and I feel like these small acts too of exchanging with one another in these thoughtful ways that we know it's planet friendly and it's people friendly and community friendly. It helps also the person that maybe they're not already considering, how do I remake something, but it helps kind of like unlock that part of your brain. And when the more examples that you see, then you're in your house and you notice a jar and you can turn it into a propagation vessel. You don't need to buy a new bud vase. You can just use that. Like, so I feel like there's so many ways in which it can help people unlock their own creativity, which is, I think, really neat as well.
Yeah. And there's creativity in just problem solving.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it doesn't have to be crafting, making.
I think a lot of people are intimidated because they don't want to do it wrong, especially because there's so many pieces. And I do think the one thing that is a bummer, I feel like, of the community is it's like sometimes it's like people are like, oh, well, make sure you don't do this or don't do that. And it feels restrictive and it almost feels so like you can't wrap your arms around it. But it's just little acts every day. And like, I do think, and we've talked a lot about, I'm trying to think of the term, but like mindset and like the shift in your mind. Because even the cover of our Currentsy is the inside of an envelope, because Lindsay makes earrings from legal envelopes. I've never noticed how beautiful the inside of legal envelopes are. And so it's like when you pay a bill, when you're paying your bill, like check it out, because it's also like different companies have different patterns. And so that little thing that she's done, like now I also, when I'm paying a bill, I'm just like, oh, what's this cool? Like, what's this envelope?
How joyful does it make it? Like, just, I'm sending this in art.
Yeah.
Here's my bill in art.
Yeah. And it's truly beautiful. And before Lindsay, I would have never given it a set. I was like, oh, it's just protecting my privacy, whatever. But it's beautiful. And to think that like truly most of that junk mail gets like thrown away, it doesn't even get recycled. It is such a fun like unlock in your brain. And I also think the more you learn, the more you get excited about all the opportunities that exist, and then the more you're excited to share it. So it really is like this positively infectious, I don't know another word, but like it makes you feel more empowered versus feeling so spinning in circles in the wrong way. And I think like even as we do this, like this isn't gonna be perfect, but we just like want to invite people into the conversation. I'm not polished. I will never be polished, but I also think that that's what makes it more fun.
Yeah. Okay. So the perfection piece of it is really like the point here. We are not purists, and we
Mm-hmm.
think that I'll say we, but
Yeah.
assuming you,
Yes.
uh,
Plus one.
there is so many ways to do it. You can't do it wrong. If you're making an effort, you're in it.
Here, I specifically wore this shirt today because
That's good.
it's like, but I think it's so cool. Like, this is one of my favorite shirts,
How
and it's
did
like,
it get like that?
it's my
Mock?
husband's shirt, but he like had spilled bleach on it, and then I like commandeered it because I was like, I think it looks so
I
cool.
really love that.
And I think that it's like realizing that like leaving perfection to the side and not needing
Yeah.
these like pristine new things. And like there's the term wabi sabi that's all about like the beauty and the imperfection.
Yeah. Like
Mhm.
we do not, and I was talking to another maker, Chris, the other day. He takes furniture from the alleys and turns it into beautiful bowls and spoons and
Mhm.
lovely little mushrooms and things like that. And I was asking him, like, how do you talk about like the waste piece of this
Mhm.
when you are taking waste in, and like, how do you measure how much waste you've reduced? And he was like, actually, I hate talking about that because at the end of the day, I am taking a large piece of wood, whittling it down into something much smaller,
Mhm.
but artfully. And so there is waste involved. It's not perfect. Like so he cannot view this as like the perfect solution to waste reduction. So I also believe like we can have those very transparent conversations about we can't do this with perfection in mind. It just
Yeah.
will never happen if we all are trying to just do it exactly right. So here is where we are creating currency. The current part of it is that there is, just like water, it will find a way, it will seep into the little cracks and gaps, which can be very frustrating, but at the same time, it's so magical. Like you can step into this at any point, however you want to come, and there is a place for you. And it's not this closed loop, it's not a perfect circle where this follows a path exactly right.
Yeah.
It is fluid and wonderful and perfectly imperfect.
Yeah.
So I think this is an opportunity. Like, this is the open invitation. I don't care if you're trying or not. Like,
Mhm.
if you want to learn a little, great. If you want to like come to this with just the most enthusiasm and love for the idea, wonderful. Everyone's invited.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're going to focus on creative people who are trying to do the best they can with very little resources and in their own little spaces in our own little corner of the world.
Yeah. And we can't wait.